just like that, they lost the chance for renewal in a new place. And then the third category, who I think are my favorite, not my favorite, that I'd want to be in that category, but like I feel many times, even I have been in that category in different situations. It's the jokers. Yeah. And the jokers were just living life, resigned to the fact that they were exiled, resigned to the fact that there was once a dream. Hello there, my name is Joanne. I'm back with another episode of Assignments, and today I want to talk about renewal. And when I think about renewal, I think about Psalms 126, which is another song of ascents. And I like to read it in the New King James Version because, I think I've had it in this version for so many, years. So when I felt it in my spirit, like I was looking for, the version that was most familiar. So I'll read from verse 1, Psalms 126. When the Lord brought back the captivity of Zion, we were like those who dream. Then our mouth was filled with laughter and our tongue with singing. Then they said among the nations, the Lord has done great things for them. The Lord has done great things for us, and we are glad. Bring back our captivity, O Lord, as the streams in the south. Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy. He who continually goes forth weeping, bearing seed for sowing, shall doubtless come again with rejoicing, bringing his sheaves with him. And when you think about it, this psalm is actually split into parts. And, I can visualize that first part when these exiles who were going back home, they were excited, they packed up their things, and in a chain-like formation, they went to Jerusalem, to Zion, singing this song and many other songs. And in this part, it's the fact that they had been restored. They were no longer maybe going to be slaves, going to be landless. They're going to, go back to their land. And for many of them, it's something that they imagined would happen, but they didn't know when it would happen. But when it happened and they were going back this journey across mountains, across valleys, greenland, desert. It was a long journey, but they were determined because they could feel the hope on the other side, and they could feel how God had really kept his promise. And it's that first part, it's about victory. It's about them going to a place of hope. And I can imagine when they were exiles and slaves, like there were many naysayers who were mocking their God and being like, yeah, see, you're still here. What you promised never came to pass. And, the naysayers got to witness them going to the other side and living and going to, freedom. And when I'm thinking when they went back, they were ready for renewal. They were ready for a new season of their lives. And, that other season as exile, it had come and it had gone, and it made or broke them in specific ways. But this was a new season, and they were going forward without looking back. So having said all that, I kind of thought about three categories of people who are among the exiles who never got to be part of this journey. And I kind of, it's what I feel like, revealed to me to be like, in the seasons of renewal, I must be careful not to be part of these categories of people so that I don't miss out. So the first category would be, maybe there are those guys who are doubtful, who at some point stopped dreaming, stopped believing in that God was going to bring them to Zion, and they just didn't believe anymore. And that is how they never got to make it to the other side. So I can imagine them, because they were doubtful, they were like, we don't know what's on the other side. And as a fellow pilgrims who are packing, they would be like, I'd rather be here as an exile, as a slave. It's there's something I can see. It's not the best, but I no longer have that dream of better or best. And they were left behind because they were doubtful of this promise of how it would come to fruition. They didn't have the essence anymore of being God's children and believing. So that was the first category. And the second category, I'd say, were the ones who had grown cold towards God and towards His love. And probably they felt like, all these years they'd been here, that God had forsaken them. And they had not only become lukewarm, they had totally, become cold. And probably they weren't praying anymore. They weren't praising or worshiping. And even whatever was happening in this space, they were, they were depraved, and they, quote unquote, kind of lost hope in the promise. And for them, I'm thinking it's not that they couldn't go. They didn't even have the energy or spirit to go to make this long journey. They didn't have the capacity because their hearts had lost that strength. And they, just like that, they lost the chance for renewal in a new place. And then the third category, who I think are my favorite, not my favorite, that I'd want to be in that category, but like I feel many times, even I have been in that category in different situations. It's the jokers, yeah? And the jokers were just living life, resigned to the fact that they were exiled, resigned to the fact that there was once a dream, resigned to the fact that there was a God of promise. Like for them, they were just, you only live once, and this you only live once is in captivity, so let's just leave it. So for them, they were clueless when the others were packing and getting ready to go. They just went out, and because they were not, their spirits were not for us conscious, they just were going about their lives and could not see that there was a plan to leave and the people were leaving. And I can imagine that they probably went out about their activities, and when they came back in the evening, they were like, hiya, the guys have left and we are still here. Like, how did this news message pass us? And also they were not smart enough to be like, can we follow behind? Because they had, I think the word is nonchalance around them. They were oblivious of what is happening. And I feel they are related to the ones whose heart had gone cold. But for them, it's just they weren't serious enough. They still loved God, but they weren't serious enough to see the times and the seasons. And, that kind of made them miss the memo, and that is that they remained in exile, probably for the rest of their lives. So that is, how I see it. And I go now to the second part, which is, I think, that that is from 4, when now, after this song now just gives us an inkling from 4 to 6, that the Jerusalem where they were going, things were not built. They were there to build, and they were going to, even though this was their land, even though this was promise, though this was freedom, they were going to plant, and sometimes they were going to plant, and they will plant in tears. Maybe there was drought, maybe the seasons weren't the best, maybe they were dealing with other issues of just resettling. But they are promised that even though they reap, they sow in tears, they plant in tears, they're going to reap in joy. They're going to have a harvest. And, it's a promise that they were going to be restored 100-fold. And I think when you now connect the two sections of scripture, you see that when they remember, that they came out of the captivity of Zion, a Zion that they dreamt about. And then they look at the situation where things might not be working for them. They know that God who brought them here from back then, He's the same God. He's going to do it for them, and whatever dryness that is in that season, that renewal is still promised, and it's still going to come 100-fold. And as I finish, the one thing I also pick out is it needs to be sensitive to the Spirit and remember the God who's done things for us in the past. He's the same God. There's a song by Ty Tribbett that says, if he did before, he will do it again. And I think the word for me to end it is look for evidence. Look for evidence of how God has been faithful in the past, and believe that as he brings you to a new season, a season of renewal, he will do it again. And maybe it won't happen in a day, in a week, in months, in a couple of years, but he will surely do it. Just need to stay connected to him. So that is it for this episode. I wish you a lovely, 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 lovely day.